distinct sound, the call of wolves. They used to live in New York State until the 1890s when the last one was shot in the Adirondacks.
North American forests looked very different 300 years ago. And it's not just the rise of infrastructure, it's the purposeful decline of many natural predators. Before European colonists came to America, the gray wolf population looked something like this. But by the 1930s, that vast, thriving population looked more like this. In a matter of a few decades, European settlers had trapped, poisoned, and shot the gray wolf nearly out of existence in the lower 48.
Wolves are what are called keystone predators. They're the number one controller in nature of beaver and all large hooved mammals.
As Stephen Hall said, wolves are a keystone species that are native to New York State. Starting in the early 1900s, other species populations went out of control due to the simple fact that wolves went extinct in New York back in the 1890s. Wolves mainly preyed on white-tailed deer and beavers. The beaver population is between 50,000 and 70,000, which is pretty high. The white-tailed deer population is completely out of control. It is at an all-time high at 1.2 million across the entire state. Hunting has been proven the best method of bringing these populations down because they don't have mass amounts of natural predators in the state anymore, so this is the only way that they can control them. However, if wolves were reintroduced to New York, these huge populations would come down over time. These animals would actually have a natural predator to keep them in check rather than the hunters.
So the primary way wildlife is restored to any particular location, before anything else can happen, the appropriate habitat has to be present. If all you did was pick animals up and move them into an area where, for whatever reason, they'd been extirpated without addressing the causes that led to that animal being absent, there's no reason to expect those animals to stick around. An appropriate restoration method is always going to focus on making sure that there's suitable habitat present. For most wildlife in New York State, for most of the species that have been present within the state within the last couple hundred years, for the most part, since the DEC has been formed, we've been very proactive at protecting habitat and trying to reestablish suitable habitat for the entire array of fish and wildlife species in New York State. Wolves are no exception.
Many sections of their former range are no longer suitable due to human encroachment. And in places where wolves do coexist with people, living alongside them is challenging.
Wolves are happy to kill a cow or a sheep if that's what it needs to do in order to live and get by. And of course, that's tough, or can be tough, for the livestock owner.
If New York helps reintroduce the gray wolf back into the state, they would succeed. They are native to here. There are plenty of suitable habitats for them all throughout the Adirondack region, even the Catskills and southern New York. With the deer population and the beaver populations being so high, they would also have a reliable food source. However, the entire state must be on board with this project, not just conservationists and environmentalist groups. This would include the New York State DEC. The fate of the wolves' return relies in our hands.